Okay, so we're going to do this little problem to help us understand conceptually what's going on when we work with square roots. So, for instance, in this problem, it says, why do we have two different answers? Part 1 says, find all values of x for which x squared is equal to 36. So, for part 1, we could probably tell immediately that, well, 6 squared is 36. Well, are there any other values? Well, we know that negative and a negative times negative is a positive. And when you square something, you multiply it by itself. So we have that negative 6 squared is equal to negative 6 times negative 6, which is equal to positive 36 as well. So in this situation, we have that x could be 6, or x could be negative 6. Now, algebraically, if we were to solve this, hopefully remember from algebra 1, if we were to solve an equation like this algebraically, we would have to take the square root on both sides of the equation to solve for x. However, whenever you actively take that square root, when you take that square root, it's either positive or negative. Positive or negative. We don't know what it's going to be, potentially. It could be either of the two. That's why we put the positive or negative when we algebraically do the square root on both sides. Thus, when it cancels the x out, we have that this becomes positive or negative 6. Same exact answer we got. Now, for 2, what's asking for all the values from which x is simply equal to the square root of 36. Now, we have not initiated the square root, right? It's already there. So the only solution to this one is going to be a positive 6. Because we have not established that there's that plus or minus there. Since there's no minus sign, it has to be a positive result. So, for instance, it would be different, let's say if we had x was equal to negative square root of 36. Because in that case, well, when we take the square root, it's still going to be 6, sorry. But since we have that negative in the front, we get negative 6 as our x. But that's not the same thing as this one. They are not the same as each other. So, in example 2, we simply have one solution. One single solution. And the difference is when we initiate the square root like we did here, we do have to account for both possibilities. But when the square root is already provided for us, we only account for the possibility that it's positive.